at that!
Georgie! Tell me that you're getting this!
I'm getting it. I'm getting it. I don't know what it is, but I'm getting it.
Hey there, cinephiles. I'm Mark Ellis, and welcome to RT Essentials. Today, we're kicking down the doors to the Mouse House to give some credit where it's due, because not all Disney movies have received the attention they deserve, and we are not about to let that slide. Not that we're pointing our white-gloved Mickey fingers at anyone. There's many factors that might lead a film to falling out of the limelight. Maybe it was just ahead of its time, or misunderstood. Maybe folks just weren't memeing their memeiest of memes. And really, how else do we find out about anything these days? Whatever the reason may be, these animated and live-action films deserve their time in the sun. So, let's give it to them. These are the underrated Disney movies you need to check out. Atlantis: The Lost Empire.
This is it. Any last words? Yeah, I really wish I had a better idea than this!
We're losing altitude. Lighten the load.
That's it, unless someone wants to jump.
Ladies first.
Up first is Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Now, I don't want to hear any sly Atlantis puns saying things like this movie got lost at the box office, even if that is sort of what happened. Atlantis premiered in the summer of 2001 and was competing with the recent release of Shrek, which was a monumental hit. Additionally, Disney went in a different direction with this one and decided to make it more of an action-adventure as opposed to a musical like most of their previous films. This was indeed a gamble because audiences typically rely on Disney to deliver the bangers. I mean, who doesn't want more Hakuna Matatas and You'll Be in My Hearts? Couple that with Atlantis' lackluster critical reception, earning reviews like this one from Variety. And I'm quoting here. This blandly conceived and executed attempt at a Juve-style Indiana Jones with Jules Verne trappings recycles familiar adventure and cartoon devices with minimal wit and flair. Whew, tell us how you really feel.
What are you doing?
You do swim, do you not?
Oh, I swim pretty girl. Pretty good, pretty good. Good, swim good, pretty good. I swim pretty good.
Good. It is a fair distance to where we are going.
You are talking to the belly flop champ who can't run 'em. Come on, we're wasting time.
And as we all know, poor reviews and an unimpressive box office run can, well, sink a movie, possibly even bury it in the sea of cinema history. See, I get to make Atlantis puns because I actually saw the movie. Did you? Oh, you did? Well, if you did, you'd know that it deserves a lot better than what it got. It told a compelling story about a young linguist named Milo who led a crew of mercenaries to the Lost City. It utilized the visual styles of Mike Mignola, the comic book creator behind Hellboy. And it featured the expert voice acting of Michael J. Fox, James Garner, and Leonard Nimoy. Sounds like a classic to me. Lack of bangers aside, it's not too surprising that Atlantis: The Lost Empire has gained a cult following in recent years, with critics reevaluating the film and finally giving it some long overdue praise. Holes.
All my life, I seem to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. My grandpa, Stanley Illness II, says it's all because of this 150-year-old curse. Now, I don't really believe in the family curse, but when things go wrong, it kind of helps if you can blame it on something.
Holes was an adventure dramedy released in 2003 and based on the novel of the same name written by Louis Sackgar. It's about a boy named Stanley Yelnats who, along with his friends, is forced to dig holes at Camp Green Lake, a correctional facility in the desert. The digging is enforced by Warden Louise Walker, played by Sigourney Weaver, and after seeing what she did to some of those xenomorphs and aliens, I would do whatever that woman tells me. Director Andrew Davis, known for his action thrillers Above the Law and The Fugitive, managed to make an unpredictable film that appeals to children and also touches on some serious issues like greed and racism. And this one stays true to the book, largely due to the fact that the book's author also penned the screenplay, and who would know the source material better than the source materializer? Since the book had already attracted an enthusiastic following, particularly middle schoolers, Holes was slated to be a box office success. And it was. The film earned over $71 million against a budget of $20 million. It also garnered mostly positive reviews, with the Washington Post writing that one can't help but feel thankful that the movie doesn't always go the expected route and that the characters have a little more depth to them than average. I know what you're thinking. So solid box office numbers, some rave reviews, interesting characters, and a built-in fan base? Why is Holes on this list? Well, because it's that good. It should be in the Hall of Fame of Disney classics, and it just hasn't received the proper adoration. But it is now streaming on Disney+, so what are you waiting for? Dig in. The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Snooping around here trying to steal your girl.
My girl?
Esmeralda, dark hair, works with a goat, remember?
Boy, I do. Way to go, lover boy.
Lover boy?
Oh, no.
Oh, don't be so modest.
Look, I appreciate what you're all trying to do, but let's not fool ourselves. Ugliest face in all Paris, remember?
I don't know if you've watched The Hunchback of Notre Dame or Notre Dame for purists lately, but it's a surprisingly dark animated film. Heck, it's dark for any kind of film. Based on Victor Hugo's 19th century novel of the same name, it follows Quasimodo, the disfigured bell ringer of the Notre Dame Cathedral, who bides his time locked away in a tower. His only friends are the gargoyles, which is cool and all, but more than anything, Quasimodo longs to be with other people. Oh, he also longs to stand up to his sinister father Claude Frollo, who wants to commit genocide against the Romani population in Paris. And aside from genocide, the film also explores infanticide, damnation, and sin. Typical Disney fare. Despite the unusually dark subject matter, audiences still flock to the theater. Not sure what that says about our society. The Hunchback of Notre Dame grossed over $325 million, and that was the 5th highest grossing film of 1996. The film's musical score was also nominated for an Oscar and a Golden Globe.
You fight almost as well as a man.
Funny, I was going to say the same thing about you.
That's hitting a little below the belt, don't you think?
No, this is.
Touché. Oh, I didn't know you had a kid.
Well, he doesn't take kindly to soldiers.
I noticed.
Okay, but surely the critics must have hated it. Otherwise, we'd be talking about this movie as much as we talk about, say, The Lion King. And I can talk about The Lion King a lot. Like, way too much for an adult. Actually, the critical reception for The Hunchback was overall positive. Time magazine called it a grand cartoon cathedral, teeming with gargoyles and treachery, hopeless love, and tortured lust. Ooh, cheery. The real reason Quasimodo and the bells of Notre Dame don't ring as loud as they should, many felt that this film was inappropriate for children. It even sparked boycotts, and thousands of parents banned their kids from seeing it. But with animated content growing increasingly darker and more elevated in the years that followed, it seems that The Hunchback of Notre Dame was just way ahead of its time. Well, anyways, that's my hunch. Sky high.
Super spit. Sidekick. Acid spit. Hero! Oh! Hero! And a handsome one at that. Get out of here, knucklehead.
Sky High was directed by Mike Mitchell and co-written by Kim Possible creators Bob Schooley and Mark McCorkle. Set at a school in the sky where students learn how to be superheroes, we meet Will Stronghold, who lands in a class for students who show special promise. His classmate Gwen cozies up, but Will soon learns that she has other motives and that her mother is the villain who defeated his father, Steve Stronghold. The live-action film starred Kelly Preston, Michael Angarano, and Kurt Russell, and featured an original soundtrack released by Hollywood Records that mostly consisted of cover songs from the 1980s, like rockin' versions of I Melt With You and Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Like I said before, when we show up to a Disney movie, we expect bangers.
Shit, hothead.
Once again, this film was designed to appeal to both adults and children, and Mitchell mostly hit the mark. On a budget of $35 million, Sky High grossed $86 million, and critics praised the writing, specifically the humor, and the visual style. BBC wrote that its agreeable mix of knowing spoof and kid-pleasing fantasy makes it considerably more engaging than some of the straight superhero blockbusters we've suffered recently. Woo, not exactly sure which movies they were throwing jabs at there, but Sky High was released in 2005, so we can probably do the math. Though this was a fun film with many positive qualities, it doesn't exactly jump to the forefront of our minds when we think of a Disney classic. But in the world of modern cinema, where superhero movies are now a dime a dozen, some releases are simply overshadowed no matter how high they fly. The Emperor's New Groove.
Hey, Kronk, can you top me off, pal? Be a friend? Now, about you finding new work. That's gonna be tough.
More broccoli?
Because you're, I don't know, let's face it, you're no spring chicken. And I mean that in the best possible way.
The Emperor's New Groove was an animated comedy directed by Mark Dindal and written by David Reynolds, who co-wrote Finding Nemo. It's about the arrogant young Emperor Kuzco, who is transformed into a llama by his power-hungry advisor, the diva Yzma. Stranded in the jungle, Kuzco's only chance to get back home and reclaim the high life he longs for rests with a kind-hearted peasant named Pacha. Together, they work to return Kuzco to the throne, but they must work fast because Yzma will stop at nothing to prevent that from happening. This was a fun one. It featured the voice talents of David Spade, John Goodman, and Patrick Warburton, aka Putty from Seinfeld. High five. The tone is warm and funny, with plenty of gags and especially hilarious dynamics between Spade and Goodman's characters. Newsweek wrote that the unfussy, tossed-off quality actually helps give this original story zippier reverence some of Disney's plusher cartoons lack. And both Newsday and the BBC called it the best Warner Brothers cartoon ever made by Disney.
Okay, bye-bye.
Are you okay? You all right?
Yeah, I think I'm all right.
Good. That's for going back on your promise.
Yeah, that's for kidnapping me and taking me to your village, which I'm still gonna destroy, by the way. Don't touch me.
So what they're really saying is that The Emperor's New Groove was unlike anything Disney had ever produced. Even the title felt out of place and left people confused as what the movie was actually about. Couple that with over half a decade of substantial development hell, look up the film The Sweatbox and a poor marketing campaign, and you have a movie that was doomed to never find its groove. Though the film was considered a box office failure, it received a mostly positive critical reception. And the cult of Kuzco seems to be growing stronger in time, with many now regarding The Emperor's New Groove as a forgotten classic, which is kind of what this list is all about. The Rocketeer.
Cobra, get up! Get out of here!
Oh, it's all part of the show.
Next up is The Rocketeer, a superhero fantasy film that follows Cliff Secord, a cocky stunt pilot in love with a beautiful actress named Jenny Blake. When Cliff discovers a jetpack hidden in a biplane, he straps on the rocket, dons a flashy helmet, and becomes the high-flying titular hero known as the Rocketeer. It sounds like a literal blast until the Nazis show up and ruin everything by wanting to use the rocket as a weapon. Now, Cliff must use his powers to protect Jenny and prevent evil forces from prevailing. The film is set in 1938 Los Angeles and was based on the character of the same name created by comic book artist Dave Stevens, who is known for his pin-up style illustrations. Stevens had sold the film rights to the character as far back as the early 80s, but much like The Emperor's New Groove, and many more movies before, many that followed in fact, this one languished in development hell for years. You got your creative differences, your endless script revisions, executives sacrificing certain qualities of the characters so they would appeal more to the kids and increase the potential for selling toys, yada, yada, yada. Finally, the film was greenlit, but didn't start shooting until 1990 and wasn't released until the year later, almost a decade after Stevens had sold the character rights.
It's the Rocketeer.
Unfortunately, The Rocketeer was a box office flop, outshined by the success of another superhero-ish movie, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, released in the same month. Ooh, that movie's really good though. And though many critics praised the visual style and acting of The Rocketeer, the reception wasn't strong enough to save the day. But all is not lost. Disney will soon be releasing a reboot of the cult classic on their streaming service. Clearly, this is a tale ready to not be forgotten. The Rescuers Down Under.
Here we go!
We'll never make it!
Passengers, please remain seated until the aircraft comes to a full and complete stop. Thank you.
The Rescuers Down Under was Disney's 29th animated feature film and the second release in what has come to be known as the Disney Renaissance. This Renaissance period lasted from 1989 to 1999 and consisted of several critical and commercial music-centric hits like The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King, all of which I'll point out had bangers. But The Rescuers Down Under didn't really hold up to its peers and was considered a box office flop, earning just over $47 million worldwide. Compare that to The Little Mermaid, which grossed over $235 million the year before. The film follows Cody, a young boy living in the Australian outback, who frees a rare golden eagle from a trap and soon gets kidnapped by an evil poacher. The obvious answer to this, you hire two mice from New York to hop on the back of a clumsy albatross, fly to Australia, and save Cody and the eagle from certain doom. All in a day's work.
Say, where'd you get this pretty feather, boy?
It was a present.
Oh, that's real nice. Who gave it to you?
It's a secret.
That's no secret, boy. You see, I already got the father. You just tell me where Mama and those little eggs are.
You might not be aware, but this film was actually the sequel to Disney's hugely successful feature, The Rescuers, released back in 1977. The Rescuers also sparked a scandal in 1999, which resulted in 3.4 million videotapes being recalled because someone had placed an inappropriate image in the background of one of the cartoon's frames. I'd imagine that would just make people want to buy the home video even more? Maybe The Rescuers Down Under could have used a scandal of its own because it failed to receive the commercial success it deserved despite its gorgeous animation and delightful characters. Dinosaur.
Better let me do the thinking from now on, Aladar.
Hey, they need help back here.
Watch yourself, boy.
Don't worry. That's how my brother treats newcomers. No matter how charming they are.
You sure know how to catch a girl's eye there, stud.
You know we love us a dinosaur movie here at RT Essentials, and Disney's appropriately titled adventure film Dinosaur is no exception. It's the story of Aladar, an iguanodon raised by a family of lemurs. Mice flying on birds, dinosaurs being raised by monkeys, scandalous adult images. Man, I love Disney. Back to Aladar, everything's turned upside down when meteors strike and his once lush habitat is turned into a desert wasteland. Now Aladar and a herd of other herbivores must trek to the nesting ground where water and vegetation are still bountiful, but the journey isn't made any easier by the vicious carnivores who are out for some dino blood.
He's led that monster right to us! This way!
No! Don't move! If we scatter, he'll pick us up! Stand together!
The film utilized the latest in computer animation technology, with Walt Disney Feature Animation spending years developing the software to create the dinosaurs. This ended up being the most expensive computer animated film ever at the time, with a budget that exceeded $127 million. And it was worth it because critics and audiences alike praised the stunning visuals. But even though Dinosaur was a visual treat, many critics felt it was lacking in the storytelling department. Also, Disney had never made a movie like this and didn't really follow it up with anything similar, not soon after it was released anyway. So it kind of feels like this one was a one-off experiment that's easy to overlook, but like the dinosaur fossils themselves, this one deserves to be discovered, dug up, and further examined. The Great Mouse Detective.
Steady!
Be prepared, dear viewer, as we now enter into Disney's Dark Era, aka the Bronze Age, which lasted from 1970 to 1988, named in part because of the many releases that flopped during that time, but also because this era began shortly after the death of Walt Disney. The Great Mouse Detective was released in 1986, and is one film that, despite being a product of the Dark Era, transcended to become a commercial and critical success. Based on the children's book series Basil of Baker Street, the film follows rodent super sleuth Basil, heavily inspired by some guy named Sherlock Holmes, who along with his bumbling partner must thwart the evil Ratigan's plot to depose the Mouse Queen.
Noble stature, I present to you a statesman among mice, a gifted leader.
A crusader for justice, freedom,
Over here, don't touch. Here, kitty. Time for Mouse Tower.
a majestic mountain of
The film was a turning point for Disney, saving the company after the massive failure that was The Black Cauldron. Oh, that didn't do well either. And it allowed them momentum and resources to propel into their Renaissance period, as we talked about earlier. Critics praised the wit, style, and the menacing villain Ratigan, and that epic clock tower scene was the first major use of computer animation in a feature-length animated film. But despite the Great Mouse Detective's many positive qualities, it has slipped from our collective cultural memories. It doesn't take a Sherlock Holmes to solve this mystery, it was just the wrong place at the wrong time. Hocus Pocus.
sisters. Behold!
I am beautiful. Boys will love me.
We're young. Well, younger. But it's a start!
Last but certainly not least is Hocus Pocus. It's a kids movie. It's also a family film, a holiday movie, comedy, fantasy, horror. It's got all the blockbuster sections covered, and we're already seeing that this one didn't really know what it wanted to be. So you got your tale of three villainous witches, Winnie, Sarah, and Kathy, who are resurrected by a virgin teenage boy named Max in Salem, Massachusetts.
All right, you little trolley mob. Hold on, Denny! This'll teach you to call people ugly. Open your mouth. Open your mouth,
The film was directed by Kenny Ortega, now known for High School Musical, and the cast included Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy. Lots of other talent behind this one, but it didn't seem to matter because Hocus Pocus was just cursed. The movie bombed at the box office, and the reviews were mostly terrible. The Washington Post called it two movies, a sophomoric caper for teenage boys, and a dark lark for fans of Disney farce, an abracadabra sister act. Both of them are failures. Unsurprisingly, this release was quickly swept under the rug. However, no one could have predicted that Hocus Pocus would garner a cult following in the subsequent years with strong annual DVD sales, especially in October, and record broadcast viewing numbers. Woo, how magical. And that wraps up our list of underrated Disney movies. As always, we couldn't include every feature that fits the bill. There's far too many deserving Mouse House productions and far too little time. But still, Sword in the Stone, Robin Hood, come on. We got plenty more episodes of Artsy Essentials coming your way, so stay tuned. I'm sure we'll get to them eventually. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Mark Ellis, and remember, all your dreams can come true if you just have the courage to pursue them and maybe a little cricket on your shoulder to encourage you.